Coming up on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, we discuss that there is a development right now in the Arch Manning Sweepstakes, and I tell you exactly what that is. Also, we'll talk a little bit about former Rebel Jordan Ta'amu as he prepares to start a bright new journey in another spring professional football league. And also, we will talk about the main question on defense, and that is replacing Chance Campbell. Anyway, this is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, and thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor and hit subscribe. Hit the bell so you will be notified every time we release a new video, and of course, upload the video itself. Kind of a weird news day coming around. A lot of variety of Ole Miss football topics to talk about. Today at 1 o'clock p.m., Ole Miss versus Arkansas State in baseball. Tonight, Ole Miss versus Auburn in basketball. But we're going to center around the news that Matt Luke has chosen to walk away from the coaching profession. Now, I'll tell you what that means potentially soon, but Matt Luke's a heck of a guy. Matt Luke was a friend of mine whenever I worked on staff a while back. Super good dude. I mean, he's top quality. Him and Cut, honestly, were a little bit above everybody else I dealt with at Ole Miss football. So if Matt's walking away and he's doing it for his reasons, good for him. Everything is good for him. And I'm not going to take anybody that holds anything against Matt Luke. Really has the temperament that you don't really need to pay attention to what they're talking about to begin with. I don't know. I think it's a problem controlling your emotions or anything like that. But I digress. Matt Luke leaving Georgia hurts them in the Arch Manning Sweepstakes. It just does. Matt Luke was the recruiter. He had an in with the Manning family through obvious connections. He was at Ole Miss for, nearly 10 years. Maybe more than that. I have to think about it really. But he was there a while. And through those connections, Georgia had kind of positioned themselves in a solid place. Now that the coach is gone, that is going to be a major, major obstacle for Georgia to overcome. Now, remember, the one bullet that they had in their gun at the beginning of this recruitment was that Arch Manning would be the missing piece. Well, a two-star walk-on quarterback won the national championship last year and took that piece off the board as well. So this was not a good day for Georgia in the Arch Manning Sweepstakes. Georgia is going to recruit well, and Georgia is going to be fine regardless. I'm not saying Georgia is going to have a problem. But in this particular recruitment, I view this as a catastrophic thing that could happen. I think Nick Saban, being in his mid-70s, that's going to be a problem as well. If you were to ask me 3 days ago, I would say this was going to be an Ole Miss Georgia thing all the way down to the end. Without Matt Luke, I'm going to say this is going to be an Ole Miss Texas thing to the end. And that honestly makes sense with the rumors of them trying to hire Cut as an analyst because they're trying to get those family connections involved in recruiting. But this is a catastrophic thing for the Georgia recruitment. Ole Miss has, for lack of a better term, has put Lane Kiffin as the point person on this recruitment, as they should. And Charlie Weiss Jr. with youth and energy is going down to New Orleans it seems like every time he can leave the building, he's going to New Orleans. So over the next several months, Ole Miss is going to be all over this situation. Texas is probably going to be as well. Alabama's going to try. I think the age of Nick Saban is not going to be able to be overcome. I mean, it is what it is. I think he's looking at 75 years old, 74 years old by the time he leaves. It's a big number, and Father Time's undefeated, even for somebody like Nick Saban. Not saying anything about the GOAT, but getting a little long in the tooth there. And I just do not like Georgia's position after this. This is already, now, with Matt Luke, you had that family connection of going in and a chance to use that. Without Matt Luke in this Arch Manning situation, you have to recruit with your staff with a reputation of wasting 5-star quarterbacks. It's not a good look. Unfortunately, it's not a good look. Now, they won the national championship. They're going to be fine. They have 5 stars all over the place. They just won a national championship with a 2-star walk-on from Jones Junior College. And he's got about 6 months to get all his NIL taken care of, so he's set for the rest of his life if he does this right. But as it sits, all the bullets in their gun, their selling points, are starting to one by one go away for Georgia. With Matt Luke, they were a strong contender for Arch, and a lot of people thought that Georgia might win in the end in getting in. And that was mainly because of Matt Luke and that relationship with the family. Now, I don't think they say that. I don't think they think that. I think this loss of Matt Luke and that one recruitment is going to hurt them. They'll be fine recruiting otherwise. They'll probably sign another 5-star. But in that particular recruitment, it's going to be tough to overcome. But good luck to Matt Luke. Good luck to his wife, his family. Go be a dad. Go have a good time. I know recruiting and the way that recruiting has changed in the last 3 or 4 years for on-field coaches, it's just a pain. It's just really, really hard. I see a future maybe for Matt Luke in a year or two being an analyst to where the time commitment isn't that much. He just wants to be a dad. He wants to see his kids grow up. He wants to hang out with his wife. There's nothing wrong with that. Not a single thing. And nobody can blame him for what he's doing because he's made his money and now he gets to walk away. He's earned this right. There's nobody that says he has to basically die on the football field. Once you make enough, walk away. An excellent job for him. I mean, this is a big time moment for Matt Luke, and I wish him all the best. But this is going to be a situation that is going to really hurt Georgia's recruitment of Arch Manning, I believe. So, all right, this is the time of the year I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right, thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not really a resolution because I actually enjoy eating them. Have you tried Puffs? If not, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're 100% real chocolate. In fact, all Built Bars are 100% real chocolate. 100% real chocolate. So go to Built.com, scroll down to the macros chart, and you'll be blown away. High protein, low cal, high fiber, low carb. Compare that to a candy bar that usually has about 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So at Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it delicious first, and they figure out how to make it healthy. And if I don't know how they do it, but they pull it off every single time. So go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So do us a favor, hit subscribe, hit the bell to be notified of new videos every time we upload them, and of course, upload the video itself. Second part of this show is basically Jordan Ta'amu, it's confirmed, is in the draft pool going into the quarterbacks class of the USFL. He's expected to be distributed to a team tonight, or last night, I should say. As I'm recording this, it hasn't actually happened. But by the time you listen to this, you'll be able to go to Twitter and see exactly where he landed. So our question of the day is, will Jordan Ta'amu be the class of the USFL at quarterback? Will Jordan Ta'amu be the class of the USFL at quarterback? Now, as you know, he was a star for the St. Louis Battlehawks in the XFL. He made plays all over the place. He was actually a fan favorite in Seattle. And I believe he started over Taylor Heineke, who is the quarterback of the Washington Redskins. So obviously there's steps that have been made. Now, each team that you look at in the USFL, in the Southern Division is the Houston Gamblers, the New Orleans Breakers, the Birmingham Stallions, and the Tampa Bay Bandits. In the Northern Division, it's the New Jersey Generals, the Philadelphia Stars, the Michigan Panthers, and the Pittsburgh Maulers. You take those 8 teams, and one of those is where Jordan Ta'amu is going to end up. Now, there's 2 teams that make a lot of sense, and that would be the New Orleans Breakers and the Birmingham Stallions. I think there's an Ole Miss pull there, and a Ole Miss pull would be good for New Orleans or Birmingham, and it's fairly easy to get to, since there's no Memphis Showboats or other teams in the pool at the moment. But if you look at it, all the teams are in the Eastern and Central time zone, so there is definitely a path to expansion down the road. So they're at 8 teams right now. I expect them to be at 16 by year 5 if they make it there. Now remember, with a football league, rule number one, it's survival. It's about survival. It doesn't matter who wins the championship. It doesn't matter how good the football is. It doesn't matter about anything. It's about having a year 2. And it will be like that next year until about year 5. Now, I'm coming from this because the USFL is going to be set up just like Major League Soccer. I got into an argument on Twitter with somebody that just didn't know what they were talking about, but they're set up a single entity structure just like Major League Soccer, with their primary financial backers being Fox Sports. So Fox Sports and NBC is going to broadcast the games. The opening game between the New Jersey Generals and Birmingham Stallions is going to be simulcast on NBC and USFL, and will be the first game to do so since Super Bowl I. That's pretty cool. And that shows you what they're doing at the moment. Most of the games will be played at Progressive Stadium in Birmingham, Alabama. That's UAB's new stadium. A couple of games at Legion Field. And the playoffs and championship game. This is really cool, by the way. I'm really a fan of this. It's at Tom Benson Stadium in Canton, Ohio. They're going to play this at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That is really cool, and symbolically really strikes the right chord. So you expect coaches to have a certain level of influence in that. And Larry Fedora, being the head coach in New Orleans, would be a good landing spot for Jordan Ta'amu. I think that would be pretty good. I think he'd do well with Skip Holtz in Birmingham. I do. I don't know how he would do with Todd Haley. Todd Haley is going to be more of a pro-style type guy. And the one trap that the USFL has to avoid is to not make offenses cookie cutter. One of the offensive coordinator, by the way, another Ole Miss tie for the New Orleans Breakers, Noel Mazzoni. I worked with Noel a year, and he's a pretty good dude. So you look at these coaches, and the one trap that they have moving forward is don't try to cookie cut and force these players into an offense. You need to have your own system. And you need to have your own identity. And this is one trap that always is going to come up, because they've been trying to sign players for a while, long before they hired coaches, which means they did not have a system when they were signing players. And everything, like we said, is about system fit when it comes to football. It's all about system fit. So your system needs to match the quarterback first and foremost. That's the 2 teams that do the best job of that will win the league. They'll play for the championship. They will end up, one of them will win the league. And that is without a doubt, and that happens at all levels of sport. Quarterback that matches the system. Very good. Well, if you have a good quarterback, you're in good shape. But there's going to be a team that wants to do things that doesn't have a quarterback for it. They're going to struggle in year 1. Now, let's hope that team isn't the Birmingham Stallions, because, as we told you, most of the games are going to be in Birmingham. And then they're going to go out to their cities next year. So they're going to do a bubble this year, and they'll go out to their cities next year. And, I mean, this will be interesting. Like, Fox is like 3 years invested into this. And they got Fox and NBC as the TV contracts. And, I mean, I'm impressed. But the question of the day is, will Jordan Ta'amu be the best quarterback in the XFL? And tell me a little bit about it. How do you see it going? And now that you know, after you see this, where Jordan ended up, how does that team look? Is it an Archie Manning situation where he's just a dude with other dude? You know, like he's the dude and just a bunch of guys. Or is it a situation to where it's balanced a little bit and Jordan can kind of turn it loose a little bit? I'm interested about that. I can't remember his last name. I'll find out hopefully more. I wonder if Flowers, I think he played for the Tampa Bay Vipers in the XFL, is going to be picked up tonight, or if he was picked up last night as well. So follow the USFL draft. Figure out your teams. Like I said, Birmingham, New Orleans, there's two choices of teams right in the Mississippi area, and it should be quite interesting. You know, the big joke about Mississippi is the three largest cities in the state of Mississippi is Memphis, New Orleans, and Mobile. So that is that. So football might be over for the season, but basketball is in full steam for pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where the next fired head coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds right to the conclusion of the Olympic coverage. I think the Olympics are done now. Head to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. Do us a favor and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell button so you can be notified of new videos whenever they get posted. And, of course, hit the upvote button and tell us what you think about what's going on. Our question of the day today is, how well will Jordan Ta'amu do in the USFL after he got selected last night as a quarterback of one of the teams? So that is the question of the day. Now, we've been going through our post-signing day prospectus ever since signing day went away. Yesterday, we did 3 questions about the offense, and we were going to do 3 questions about the defense today. So we're going to do 1 question today, and then we'll just expand that out to tomorrow and, figure out a way to do that. And the question is, and when you go into spring football, the #1 concern for the defense will be replacing Chance Campbell. Seriously. Will Troy Brown be able to step up and be the guy that Chance Campbell was in 2021? That is everything. That is the defense. If he can, this defense will be a salty unit. They've got the versatility on the line. They've got lots of experience in the secondary. Those 2 linebacker positions of Chance Campbell and Mark Robinson both gone. And you've got Troy Brown coming in. Who plays the other side? Because that linebacker's second level of defense is going to be very important. Now, in this 3-2-6, which I contend is going to be their base. Now, they're going to line up to make it look like a different way. They're going to do 3-4 stuff. They're going to do 4-2-5 stuff. They're going to do a ton of stuff. But their personnel grouping is going to be this 3-2-6. And that is what several people just don't understand. And that's fine. It is. But that second level, that 2, is very important in this deal. Like I said, Troy Brown is a 3-time former Mid-American Conference, all Mid-American Conference guy. And he's performed at an extremely high level for Central Michigan. And, anytime you make 3 first-team all-conference, you can play. So I don't doubt that he can play. Now, who's on the other side, though? That's kind of got my attention at this point. Who's on the other side? Is it Ashante Seastrong? Is it Jaron Willis? Is it Keys? Is it somebody else that we're not thinking of? Is it Tyler Banks? There's different players that can do different things that are perfect for this defense. That's the one beauty of recruiting for this position is you can really laser focus recruit for these guys. So you got your Troy Brown and you got your Banks and you got your Jaron Willis. They're all guys that can go sideline to sideline and do things like Mark Robinson can do and do things like Chance Campbell can do. And because of that, they kind of can bow up in the middle of the defense. Now, we need to see it. You need to go out and perform. I think somebody like Ashanti Seastrunk needs to step up. Guys like Jack Brown has moved down to the defensive line. Austin Keys is out there. He played some last year. So that position, that 3-2-6, so the 2 line of the defense, is the most important story of the defense this spring. And we have to work to figure this out. Now remember, nobody is more notoriously slow making a decision than a football coach. It just is what it is. And because of that, you need to understand that nothing is probably going to be decided this spring. It just isn't. Because they need hours upon hours and upon hours of film before they are even comfortable making a decision. They put them out in practice because they can do that in a very non-threatening environment to them. So they can see how they perform over and over and over again. These reps are important, man. They're a big deal. But coaches are notoriously slow decision makers. And here's my example on that, okay? In 2020, Lane Kiffin's first year, brought over DJ Durkin, Chris Partridge, all these guys the first year. They had no spring practice because of COVID. They had really no way to meet. They got together and did a fall camp that was essentially like a normal September practice with all their installs and everything in there. The first 4 games of the year, how bad did the defense look? Seriously, how bad? Go back and think about that. Think about that Kentucky game. Think about that Florida game. Think about that Alabama game where Alabama gained all but 7 yards that they could have gained that game. Defense got better as the year went on, but that's because the practice film caught up. They were able to make those personnel decisions. Their decision-making process was starting to come into a sound thing. The first couple of games, they were guessing. They were guessing on personnel. There's a reason people started those first games that you didn't see in the second half of the season. You have guys that you think would fit in what you want it to do, but they don't really. So understand that going into spring practice this year. Coaches are notoriously slow decision makers. So no real decision is going to come out of this spring. But the main question of the defense this spring will be the linebacker position and replacing Chance Campbell and Mark Robinson. Because if you do that, you have a chance to have a pretty salty defense moving forward. And I think they're there. I think they got the personnel on campus to do it, but you need to see them do it. It's not exactly overly hard or anything to think about, but you need to see them do it. So thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. Your Locked On Ole Miss podcast. Tomorrow we will talk about other storylines coming up in spring practice. Not as big as the one we just talked about just a second ago, but we'll talk about a couple other storylines, including the versatility of the defensive line. I'm pretty impressed by them. Now make your second listen your Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. It's free and available wherever you have podcasts. So I hope everybody enjoys the day. Watch the baseball this afternoon. Watch the basketball tonight. And also, SEC After Dark will be live streaming as well on the All's Conference Network YouTube page or on my Twitter page. So you can tune in there and participate as you want to do. So hope everybody has a good time. I will see you tomorrow. Howdy toddy.